Crypto Caesar Capital, hope you're well. It's the 23rd of August, 2025, and I'm just going to do a quick video update of last week's video because I think it's worth an update given, what's happened over the last 24 hours. Before we do that, quick plug for the VIP group. If you want to join our VIP group, it's simply $499 per year for a full 12-month premium membership. Take a look at the website, link in the description, full information is there. If you want to join the group, you can either email us via the website or you can directly DM me on Twitter, but make sure you DM the Crypto Caesar with the blue tick. Otherwise, you could be open to a scam. But generally speaking, if you DM me on Twitter with the blue tick, no problems at all. Okay, so last week we were talking about seasonality and historic returns. Before we talk about that, let's just dive in a little sort of briefly into Jackson Hole. So yesterday, Jay Powell, Fed chairman, spoke. Jackson Powell, the market has interpreted his speech at that conference as dovish. And we're going to have some rate cuts to come. Now, a lot of people, I think, or the market is going to be interested to see what happens in September and what rate cut he gives in September. He was obviously way too late in hiking rates because they thought inflation was transitory, which it wasn't. And now, in my view, he's pretty late to start cutting. But I think we need to see a 50 basis point cut in September. I think anything less than that, the market might interpret that as hawkish or bearish, and there could be a bit of a sell-off in relation to that. But a 50 basis point cut would be bullish. But my view is I think that he's stuck between a rock and a hard place, and the likelihood is he's got to cut September, October, and November, at least potentially December, but we'll see. But all eyes really on what happens with regards to interest rates in September. So I would take a look at that. Right, let's look at seasonality. Now, my last video was all about seasonality, and a lot of people at the moment are calling a Bitcoin top. And my view is that we're not at a Bitcoin top. There are multiple reasons. It doesn't look like it on the chart. People keep calling double tops, but if you go back and look left on the chart, there are loads of examples of that chart pattern. There hasn't been a parabolic, euphoric move with Bitcoin. The sentiment in the market is just trash. I mean, in traditional finance, we've got $7 trillion sitting on the sideline. So for me, I think there's more to go in traditional finance and the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ, which in my view, that equals more upside in crypto markets. But one of the key drivers for me in relation to whether there is a Bitcoin top or not is the people now calling a Bitcoin top in Q3 are essentially betting against Q4. Okay, they are saying that Q4 is not going to perform. Q4 is going to be a down month, a big down month because it's a Bitcoin top. And when Bitcoin tops come, Bitcoin sells off aggressively, pretty hard. So what they're saying is they are saying in Q4 and Q1, there is going to be an aggressive move to the downside for Bitcoin. And when you look at the facts, okay, and seasonality averages, it is a fact that since Bitcoin's inception, Q4 has always been the best performing quarter 100% of the time. Okay? Q4 has always been the best performing quarter 100% of the time. So the people calling a Bitcoin top now are betting against Q4, which I think is foolish because the data tells us that we should be in for a pretty good ride in Q4. At least it's going to be an up quarter rather than a flat or down quarter. And my view is I'm not going to fade it. I would not fade quarter four. I would not fade quarter four. And the average return for quarter four is 85.42%. The median return, 52.31%. Now, I know we had a bad Q1 because Q1, in fact, is the second best performing quarter 100% of the time. Still is, despite we had the worst Q1 in a long time. But the fact that we had a bad Q1, all partly to do with tariffs and things like that, suggests to me now that all of those issues with tariffs, etc., have been resolved, the likelihood of us having a bad quarter four is very, very unlikely indeed, okay, because of seasonality. So in my view, don't fade quarter four. As for monthly returns, August is usually a flat or down month. The average return in August is 1.61%. At the moment, we've got minus 0.1, so it's kind of sitting on its seasonality basis. It sat on its seasonality basis in July of a month of 8.13% up, and the average being 7, the median 8, says about right. In June, we had 2.49% up. The average was minus 1.4 or minus 0.14, and the median 2%, pretty much exactly as it should have been. May, we had 10.99% up. The average was 8%, the median 9%. April, 14% up. Average 13% up, median 7% up. Could go on forever, but at the end of the day, you get my point. Don't fade seasonality. It's usually pretty accurate, okay? So those calling a Bitcoin top now are basically fading seasonality, which I think is foolish. I could be wrong, but the data tells me that I'm more likely to be right than I am wrong. Now, in the last video, we looked at the average and the median returns of quarter four, which are 85 and 52. And we looked at the Bitcoin chart, and we gave a conservative estimate of what those returns would give us. Of course, the conservative estimate comes because the price points or the average returns are taken from the bottom of this channel. Because my view is that obviously we're in a channel at the moment between 124 and 111, 110K, whatever you want to call it. But I think that this channel, whichever way you look at it, holds through quarter three. So we could have a little bit of an up here. Maybe we might have a bit of a down in September because Jay Powell only cuts 25 basis points. But then I think when we get to October, we start moving. If Jay Powell cuts 50 basis points in September, maybe that might get us to the top of this channel by October. And then that gives us a stronger springboard to reach these targets. But essentially, long and short of it is this, as I said in my last video. If we take the average the median return of 53% from the bottom of the range, that takes Bitcoin to around about 171, 172K, which is also, incidentally, the Fibonacci 1618, which is drawn from the top of the last, the bull market peak to the bear market bottom. 1618 takes us to about 177 or so, which is kind of confluent with this area of about 172. That would be the median return. The average return from the bottom of the range, 85%, would take Bitcoin to 208,000, which again is going to be sort of confluent with getting to the sort of top area, or not exactly the top area, but close to the top area of this channel, and then coming down for its bear market low. So for me, Bitcoin's looking pretty good at the moment. Seasonality is performing pretty well. August, September, pretty flat, not much going on. Probably this range holds. Then come October, I think it's going to be interesting what happens. Now, when it comes to seasonality as well, we're looking at the months of seasonality in quarter four. October and November are the best performing months, with October being a good month, November being an exceptional month. The average returns for October are 21%. The average returns for November are 46%. The median is 21 for October. The median is 10 for November. So these 2 months are the best performing months. So the likelihood is that potentially Bitcoin, if it's going to do what I think it does, is going to start pushing and pushing hard in October into November. Then it might start slowing down in December. That might cause the altcoins to run a bit. Maybe there might be a distribution top going into Q1, into January, allowing the altcoins to push. And then you get the final peak of Bitcoin, and then everything comes down like a house of cards. That's my view at the moment. I could be wrong. We've got to keep monitoring. But my point to everybody in this video that I want to hammer home is, do not fade Q4. I think if you're fading Q4 and you're calling the top at the moment, fading Q4, you're misunderstanding the data. You're not looking at things properly, and you're fading seasonality, which I think is foolish. So that's Bitcoin. So let's have a look at altcoins. So Bitcoin dominance is the best chart for you to look at when considering your altcoin positions. And as I said in the previous video, when looking at the logarithmic MACD, so this is not the standard MACD, this is logarithmic MACD because I've got a logarithmic chart above. We have a bearish cross on the MACD. That is signaling a sell-off now in Bitcoin dominance for probably a number of months. Now, we had a bullish crossover here in the bottom, or at the bottom, back in September 2022, where we had the cross, and then there was this very bullish momentum for Bitcoin dominance, pushing Bitcoin dominance up and up and up for a considerable amount of time. And now it's at the point where this trend has exhausted itself, and this trend is now turning down, which is bearish for Bitcoin dominance, but this is bullish for the altcoin market and bullish for crypto in general. The question for yourselves is this, though. We are now at 58%. 58% is an important level. Once it breaks through 58%, there isn't a huge amount of support to hold it until it gets down to this area of 48%. I mean, it's arguable that there's this little area here where there was some support here, a little bit of sort of consolidation here, sort of, the 53% area, but, it's not really, it's arguable, but it's not a strong argument. So my view is, once Bitcoin dominance breaks through 58%, which it's currently doing, it will then start its descent down to the 48% level. Then the question for you is, what do you do at this point? Because, this is definitely an area which is going to be an area of strong support, because we had an area of resistance here in July 21, resistance in October 21, resistance in June 22, and in consolidation in May 23. So this area is going to be an area of which was once resistance, will now flip support. So the question for you is, what are you going to do when it gets to 48%? Because that could be the end of it, okay? Previously, in previous bull markets, Bitcoin dominance has got down into this death zone area of sort of between 38 and 43%. There is the possibility it might do the same again, but the meat of the move is going to come here. So it's a question for you as to whether you've got the balls to continue to hold your altcoins through down into the death zone. For me, at 48%, depending what prices we're looking at on the various different altcoins we've taken position on, it's certainly a very, very good profit-taking area. Maybe we might hold some further positions down to the lower areas, but there's a lot of risk here because we've got a strong support here. But it's entirely possible it comes down into the death zone, but I would just be very, very cautious. Once we get into this area, this green area, 43% and below, I would be extremely cautious. But we've got September, October, November, December. That's 4 months. This is the August bearish candle. We can see the July bearish candle. So we've got September, October, November, December. That's a long time. We've got September, October, November, December. That's a long time for crypto or in crypto. And a lot can happen in 4 months. Maybe we push into Q1, as I said before, with Bitcoin sort of like topping out in Q4-ish. And then there's some form of distribution top and allowing altcoins to push a little bit harder. But into January. But my view is that there isn't much left. Could be wrong. I'll monitor it, but I think that we're looking at a top in Q4, Q1. So that is Bitcoin dominance. Let's have a look at Ethereum. Ethereum, again, everybody fading Ethereum. It's hilarious. Everybody does it every cycle. And as I said in my last video, Ethereum is the king of total value locked. It's the king of decentralized finance. It's the king of NFTs. It's the king of shitcoins. And Wall Street gets it now. Wall Street gets that Ethereum is a big player. You just have to listen to Tom Lee at the moment. Tom Lee is now the new Michael Saylor of Ethereum, or the Michael Saylor equivalent of Ethereum. And he was saying that the however many billions of dollars that they hold of Ethereum, they are getting $200 million a year in yield from that. And he was talking about potentially paying that to the shareholders in cash dividends the other day. So Wall Street gets it. Ethereum is going to be the sort of heart and soul of the rails or the network for stable coins for the time being. So Wall Street understands it, Wall Street gets it, and hence why we've had this huge pump. So my view is it's going to get close to, or if not up to and beyond the 1618, which is 12.6K. The interesting chart to look at is Ethereum versus Bitcoin. Ethereum versus Bitcoin here. It's in this huge channel. It's just starting to break above this area, which was once resistance. So it's finding a little bit of resistance here. It's probably going to flip this into support, and then it's going to start to make its way up to the top of this channel, in my view. And in my view, I think there is a reasonable prospect of it reaching at least the bottom end of this pink box, which is about 0.08 and 0.08. If it were to go to 0.08 now, that would give a price of Ethereum of 9.2K. Obviously, as Bitcoin increases in price, then the US dollar target for Ethereum will increase in price as well. But 12K, Bitcoin's around about 150K. That's probably about right. Maybe Bitcoin's a little bit higher. It doesn't quite get to the top of this channel, but anything close to the top of this channel with a high Bitcoin price is going to be an extremely good return for Ethereum. So that's it, guys. I'm super bullish. I think we're going to have a little bit of flat to probably maybe some downside, maybe in September, unless we get a really bullish sort of 50 basis point cut and a really dovish speech by Powell in September. That might give us the rocket fuel to start getting above the range of 123K prior to Q4, which just gives us a better springboard for Q4. But the point of this video today was to hammer home to you that those who are calling a Bitcoin top in Q3 are misunderstanding the data of quarterly returns and misunderstanding the fact that Q4 is the best performing quarter 100% of the time. And therefore, the ones calling a top now in Bitcoin are fading Q4, which I think is really, really foolish. And they're misunderstanding the data. They're not seeing what's right in front of their eyes. I think the S&P 500 keeps going for a while. I think the NASDAQ keeps going for a while. And this is all good for Bitcoin. So that's it, guys. That's the video this week. If you can like and subscribe, that would be great. Comment in the video what you think might happen. And as I say, if you want to join the group, reach out to me on Twitter or email us via the website. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you have a good day, and I shall speak to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.